You're listening to What Up Baltimore online radio. When there's no music, there's a show. When there's no show, there's music. Share us with a friend and let them know that What Up Baltimore online radio is on the air. You are tuned in to What Up Baltimore online radio. Please note that the views and opinions expressed are of the host and not of LadyJmedia. Thank you and enjoy the show. Just a quick reminder that there are several ways to tune in, listen, and watch our shows. You can join us on our radio station, What Up Baltimore Online Radio. You can also check out our podcast under LadyJmedia, or you can watch us on YouTube at What Up Baltimore TV, the People Station. And guess what? We're even on Twitter. You can watch us live, What Up Baltimore TV. Check us out on IG as well, and our Facebook page, What Up Baltimore, and What Up Baltimore Online Radio. There's no excuse for you not to tune in. Hey, my name is Lady J, and I'm the owner of LadyJmedia, Buddafly Entertainment. Now, don't go anywhere because we have some really great shows coming up for you. I'd like to invite you to be a part of LadyJmedia. If you want to have a show, let me know. My number is 443-297-4753, or you can email me at LadyJWUB@gmail.com. That's LadyJWUB@gmail.com. Don't forget to follow that butterfly because you never know where she's going to land. Thank you for joining Mental Wellness Coaching with DWendell. Your session begins right now.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's so good to be here with you. Today we are talking about mental wellness. Mental wellness. And the reason for the discussion is when we look at the climate that we find ourselves in on a daily basis. Thousands of people dying every day. An increase in isolation or various things, different systems breaking down and not being available to us. How does that impact you mentally? So again, we're talking about mental wellness. I am DWendell. I am your mental wellness coach. My telephone number is streaming across the bottom of the screen, as well as my email. If you have any questions, please reach out and ask your questions so we can address them. The question is, what is mental wellness? What is mental wellness? And I would like to begin our brief discussion, as it were, with a question for you. What is the source of your strength? How do you make your decisions when things do not work out, when you can't figure out the answers to the questions that you have? Where do you go? Where do you go to get to? Where is your strength? Where is your foundation? You know, part of what goes on now, we find ourselves in the midst of a lot of catchy phrases. You know, pull yourself up by your bootstraps. If you believe you can achieve those type of things. Those things, those words, those phrases have no validity if they don't have a foundation. What is the foundation of those things? We believe here at Heart, One Mind, One Heart Connection, which you can go to our Facebook and look at the page, Heart, One Mind. We believe that the connection lies in lifestyle choices. We believe, we believe without question that you can live a life of happiness. You can be happy from day to day. When we look at what is mental health and mental wellness? Well, mental health is the ability, when we have a working definition, mental health, being mentally well, is having the ability to control or modify your environment. Uh, so modify and control your environment so that you're able to exercise sound and realistic choices. You're able to satisfy your basic everyday needs. You will be amazed to see that, to hear and find out that some people cannot uh, function on a daily basis. The short term is ADL, being able to accomplish activities of daily living. Simple things like going to the grocery store, being able to make a decision about doing this or doing that. And they're not able to because they're dealing with different stages of depression or anxiety. Um, that's where we focus. Our area of focus mainly is in the area of depression and anxiety. I'm a retired social worker. I worked in the field for over 30 years, doing psychotherapy, individual counseling, family therapy, all those things, and it was effective. So the shift was made for us, for me, was from doing the therapy to coaching people every day, to helping people get from day to day, getting through the day. And so that's part of mental wellness coaching. You can be solid mentally every day. Continuing down the list, being able to establish meaningful physical and emotional relationships with other people. Establishing relationships. We have so many people who have various phobias, which is part of anxiety. Social phobia, their phobia, fear of this and fear of that. That's a form of anxiety. So we help address that. Um, Mental wellness, strength, learning to take responsibility for how you're feeling, learning to take responsibility uh, for your not only your feelings but for your actions. We know we talked about the mind and behavior, and every behavior begins with a thought, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that later. Um, having functional, again I say I'm reading, having a functional, integrated self-image of yourself, having a functional, highly good self-image of yourself with this pandemic that's going on. It's not a lot talked about. The suicide rate is climbing. Young people, older people, just being overwhelmed with life situations. Um, and someone has asked me a question, good question. Um, Understanding the difference between what causes fear, which leads to anxiety. So many of us are living in a state of fear, and we're going to talk about that. Thank you. And lastly, um, to mentally be able to support efforts to promote the growth and development of your own culture and environment. How life still goes on. Again, so that's what again, and I'll summarize it. We were saying that mental wellness is the ability to one exercise uh, sound and realistic judgment and strategies for dealing with daily problems. How do you solve problems? What do you base it on? Which comes back to the question. I know I was summarizing. It comes back to the question of where is your foundation? Where is your strength? If you don't have a good core strength, where do you draw your strength from? So I'm going to summarize because I keep getting pulled up, pulling myself off. Exercising sound and realistic judgment, satisfying our basic biological and human needs, meeting our daily needs. Uh, how do you do that? Meeting our daily needs. That's secondly. First was exercising sound and realistic judgment about how we solve problems. Secondly, is to satisfy our basic biological and physical needs. Uh, Thirdly, establishing meaningful physical and social relationships. That was thirdly. Fourth, taking responsibility for your own feelings and actions. I didn't do this particular thing because somebody did this. I take responsibility for the choices I make, which we're going to talk a little bit more about. And fifth, um, having a good, solid self-image of yourself. And last, continually, continually support efforts to promote growth and development within our culture. Now, those are questions that we address about mental wellness, being mentally strong, being not swayed by everything that comes along. So we in the psychological community, the definition came up, or the question, the word came up of how do you describe people when they're off task? They can't do this. They're distracted by everything. They begin to use the term ADHD. And again, that's not part of this depression, anxiety statement that we're making, but it's always some other cause. I'm acting this way because of that. I'm acting this way because of genetics. My mother was depressed, so I got the genes to be a depressed person. We're going to talk about those things. Um, so the opposite of mental wellness is what the term has come along. It's called mental illness. Mental illness, where mental illness is where you find yourself in a state of depression, for example, and you can't recover yourself. You can't break the chain of thoughts that you're having. Depression is rooted a lot in the past. In the past, what did happen, and woe is me from that. Um, Again, that's part of mental illness, and the way it's classified, you receive a diagnosis. Um, for example, and I have to refer back to my notes for this one real quick. There are three. There are three, for example. Um, there are three depressions. The way they describe depression. One is, I have it. Forgive me. One was the generalized. depression. The other one, yeah, here they are. I'm sorry. One was the major depressive disorder, ma- uh, major depressive disorder. A second one was dysthymic disorder, where you're constantly thinking, your thoughts are running along the lines of sadness all the time. And the other one is bipolar disorder, where you have mood swings. You're up one minute, you're down one day, you're up, you're excited, you're depressed, and these things are diagnosed. So what happens, as you well know, once you receive the diagnosis, then they come up with a treatment for the diagnosis. They say with the diagnosis you need this medication or that medication. You need to do this or that. And so that is what mental illness is. And there's a stigma that comes along with a mental health diagnosis. And so that is uh, the treatment is to go into psychotherapy. And now what you'll find about psychotherapy is that the cycle never seems to break. Some people have been in therapy for 20, 30, 40 years, whatever the case may be. I'm not saying that therapy doesn't work. What I am saying is that there are ways to get to the state that you're trying to exist in on a faster path. It's a faster path to get there, to get to mental wellness, where you don't become dependent on your therapist. You don't become dependent. It's nothing wrong with talking things out. It's nothing wrong with going to a therapist. It's nothing wrong with that. I am saying if your goal is to gain a level of mental acuity and mental wellness, that you are highly functioning on a daily basis, there's a different path to get to that. And again, that's one of the reasons I became a coach. It's because coaching is more effective, excuse me, coaching is more effective, I feel, than therapy, specifically in the area of depression and anxiety. There's a process. We've developed a program. It is a 5 week program, and I will have it on my page, on my Facebook page, in a few days, and putting the final touches on it. And it deals with specific things. Um, uh, the first week is who are you? Then we deal with mental wellness. Second week. The third week we deal with physical health. The fourth week we deal with nutrition. Nutrition. I'm not a nutritionist, but part of what we're saying is that there's a definite connection between your mind, your heart, and your well-being. There's a definite connection, and there's not a lot of conversation about that. We are a society of quick fixes. Hurry up, let's do some microwave. Let's take a pill, and I'll think better, I'll feel better, I'll act better. And that pill is doing it. Let's depend on this source and that source. When the real core of it, the real core of your mental wellness and well-being, it lies within you. It's two areas specifically. It's two areas that I have found that cause people to not take responsibility for themselves. One is focus. We lose focus so quickly. We if it's not working fast enough, if it's not, I'm not getting the results I want quick enough, then I will abandon. I will abandon a particular thing. I just won't stick with it. So we lose focus. And the second is we don't want to make a lifestyle change. When I say a lifestyle change, I mean a change, a permanent change. Listen, a point I would like to make here, and check it out. You check it out for yourself. God has so designed your brain. Now, okay, let me go back. There is a three-step process that we engage you in the program. One mind, one heart. It is the mind. The mind controls the brain. The mind instructs the brain what to tell the body to do. So there's a connection. So the mind, when we think about the mind, the question comes up for you. And what we teach, what we teach about in the program is you have the capacity, the God-given ability from birth, to think about what you are thinking about, to think about what you are thinking about. And how does that work? What happens with the when you have a thought, the thought that begins in the mind. Understand the mind is the controlling factor. That's the mind is what receives instruction. The mind is what if you're a spiritual person, the mind is what God communicates to you through the mind. He speaks to your mind, and your mind gives it to the brain, and the brain puts it in operation because the brain instructs the body. For example, simple example. Tell yourself you want to get up. Right now. No, no, no. Let's not even get up. Tell yourself to wiggle your finger like that. Just wiggle your finger. Understand that first the thought comes into your mind. Then your mind sends it to the brain. Then the brain sends it to the finger. So the mind thinks, move the finger. The mind tells the brain. The brain is obedient. Understand what happens with our system, our life system. The body and the mind are always seeking a state of balance. They're always trying to line up. They're always trying to line up. The mind is trying to get the brain to cooperate, and the brain is trying to get the body. And what has happened, we've become disjointed, as it were. The brain you just got your brain going off all kinds it goes off all kinds of ways. For an example, and I haven't lost my point, which is about focus. What we do, how can I say this? I'll put it this way. The things that separates us as human beings from animals is that animals are instinctual. Animals are instinctual. In other words, you step on a dog's tail, he's gonna bite you. Ain't no question about it. He's gonna attack you. You go into the realms of a cow. No matter what you do, a cow is gonna eat grass. It's instinctual. It's instinctual. So when we become instinctual, when we begin to function, not begin, when we continually function from habit. In other words, if someone says something to me which I interpret as being out of line, young people now say you're out of pocket. If they say something out of pocket, then I must respond to that. So the statement for us is the strength is that we must think about what we're thinking about. We must think about how we're reacting because, let me help you, because when it gets to the brain. If the thought is a destructive thought, the brain, it's a term called neuroplasticity. Neuroplasticity. The brain picks up the thought and creates pathways. If it's a negative thought or when it's a destructive thought, then negative thoughts and beliefs become a part of your system. It becomes a part of who you are. That's how you become predictable because you it's like information is stored in the cloud of your brain. So when you think a negative thought, instead of thinking the thought all the way through, the habit picks up the thought and says, oh yeah, when he says this, then you react that way. If he says your mama, then you automatically go on attack. He's talking about my mama. So automatically you go on attack. Or she must be, or if she must be disrespecting how I look or how I feel, things like that. So what happens? Society, society is so structured that they've built into our visual system things that we can do to throw people off that we're having bad thoughts. In other words, if I wear Louis Vuitton bag or clothing or whatever, then because I look so good, indeed I must be good. And you would never find out that I have some mental health challenges. I have because I'm thinking bad thoughts about you. I'm thinking of doing destructive things to you. And at one mind, one heart, we're saying that the same principle works when you implant positive thoughts, not just words, words that you pull out of the air, but positive thoughts. When you are reflective about what you're thinking about, then constructive paths are formed in your brain. And when the constructive paths are formed in your brain, then your thoughts are different. And because your thoughts are different, then your body responds to the positive thought. And because your body is responding to the positive thought, then there's a happiness that's associated with it. There's a happiness that's joined with it. And there's a strength that's gained from this. So again, when you focus, when you take time and we talk about these things, we instruct these things in this 5 week course. It's not even a course. This 5 week program, and we talk about these things. And let me just talk about the program just a little bit. The way it works, we will meet one on one, either via Zoom or telephone. You and I will have telephone conversations every week. We have telephone conversation about various aspects. Again, various aspects of the program. Now, remember, I told you the program is 5 aspects. The first one deals with who you are. Now, that question comes up. I know you have a very definite self-image of yourself. I am this. I am that. I am this. I am my car. I am my house. I am my clothes. I've never failed. I've met people, young men who African American men who've never gone to jail, never got caught up in the court system at all, never got stopped for a speeding ticket. They have a definite self-image of themselves. So some people have an image of, well, I'm just, mama used to say this and daddy used to say I wasn't this and that, and I grew up here and there. So I have a low self-esteem, as it were, myself. So my statement to you when we talk about who you are, it doesn't matter what you think about yourself. What does your core strength, your source of strength. Some people believe in God. I said it. Some people believe, what does God say about you? What does God say about you? And when you look at it, if you're honest with, I know you're honest with yourself. When you look at it, God only says uplifting and positive things. As a matter of fact, God doesn't talk about uplifting and this and that. What God talks about is who you are. Who you are, not what you do, but who you are. So that's the first thing. You look at who you are, and we talk about that in the first week. Now, not only do we talk on the phone, you have homework assignments. That's not written out assignments, but you have different things that you have to do, and that's part of. So when we come together, our conversation with each other is very purposeful. It's very directed. We're not talking about the weather, excuse me, and who shot John and who John's sleeping. We're not talking about none of that. We're talking about specifically what you're supposed to be doing is purpose driven. So we have our weekly conversations, our one-on-one conversations, which of course are confidential. Not only do we have our one-on-one, but we have a weekly Zoom group meeting. If you want to be a part, some people don't want to be seen. They don't want to talk to anybody. They don't want to know nobody. I got that. So if you don't want to be a part of the weekly group, as it were, then we would actually have two conversations together, and that's the week there. So the second week, the first week is who you are. The second week we talk about mental health, how to. This is fascinating. How do you recapture? How do you get back that good part of your life? A question I often ask, and I'll ask you now. Take a moment, spend a moment with me right now, and I want you to think about when was the last time you saw you? When was the last time life was exciting? It just held so much promise for you. You remember? Maybe you were in your grandmother's backyard. Maybe you were in your own backyard. Maybe it was your first day of school. Whoever it was, you remember the hopes and dreams that you had? The excitement you had about waking up. Personally, I remember when I was a child, I guess I was 6, 7 years old, 5, 6 years old, I don't know. But the first time that I got a kite up in the air, and I never could fly a box kite. Those people are skilled who can do box kites. Anyway, these were the kites that you had to tie. We almost made them, and you had to tie the tail on because the tail was key. So on the tail of the kite, you would have a pair of mama's stockings. You would have some cloth and some rags, and and you would make the tail. Some tails would be long, and what you had to do, you ran so the wind could catch the kite. So when the kite got caught by the air and the wind, the kite would go up. And there was a string, and you pull the string to make it go higher and higher. And when the kite got up, all we would do, all we would do, all we would do would be to lay back on the side of the hill and look at the kite. Gentle winds blowing. Oh, what a wonderful time. So my question to you is, when is the last time you saw you that you found joy in every day? See, society has life as it were, comes along and it takes us away from those things. It breaks our focus and our concentration. So many things happen. Sometimes there's some form of abuse. We know about those things. maybe it's neglect, maybe it's Uncle Bobo. It could be anything, a husband, an abusive situation. But you find yourself now, and you find yourself now at this time in life in the throes of a depression. Now, and think about what triggers some of these things for you. You may walk into a store and hear a certain beat. It reminds you of then, of when you lost that excitement of watching the kite. It may be a smell, a smell. When we were, again, and I keep dating myself, but the cologne that we used to wear, now I know some of you rich people always had what you had, but we had high karate. I'm sorry. We had high karate. That was, anyway, so sometimes it's a smell, sometimes it's a look. So that's where we start with the mental wellness building part. When was the last time you saw you? And then we go on a journey to recapture that. That's the brain. Remember the word I gave you earlier, with neuroplasticity? The brain has the ability to form new paths. So it's not your genetics. People, the term, a famous, a popular term now is breaking generational curses. The way to break the generational curse with mental health is in the mind, it's in the thinking. It's to change the path. Because once the thoughts begin to change, the body lines up, the body strives to line up with that thought. The body strives, the body is called, or I'll call it, it's balance. The body, the mind is always seeking balance. This is being out of balance that causes you this distress. And I'm saying to you today, as a coach, you don't have to constantly live in this state of stress. You don't. Neuroplasticity. Think differently. Be different. The third part of it is dealing with physical health. Physical health. Simple walking. I mean, what is physical fitness? What does it mean to be physically fit? This is an area that's very difficult for some of us because just to go for a walk, you have to be focused. You have to be determined. You have to have it in your mind that you're going to be physically fit. Our term at one mind, one heart. One mind, one heart is to be as physically fit as possible for as long as possible. So from wherever you are, from ground zero, from wherever you are, whatever limitation, if all you can do is wiggle a finger, then we're going to make that finger as physical. That's going to be the best index finger. Ugh, such a beautiful index finger. Maybe you can just wiggle a toe. We're going to work from where you are. The fourth stage is nutrition. This is the tricky. It's not even tricky. It's hard. You know, the brain is strengthened by the nutrients that you put in. So if you have a diet of 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 sodas, that was me. Diet of sodas and sweets and various other things. What is your brain feeding off of? It's called mind gut connection. What you eat affects your brain and your ability to think. What you eat also impacts disease and how your body responds to disease. If in using Uh, um, one of using a biblical term, as it were, the Bible says that God promised the Israelites that if they adhered to what He said, that He would cause none of the diseases that fell on the Egyptians, they wouldn't fall on them. So again, we can reduce the amount of disease that we have in our body. We have to make nutritionally sound decisions. Now, I'm not trying to clean anybody. Well, what you eat impacts how you feel in your disease. And lastly, we sum it all up by reviewing it all. And what I am committing to with those that sign, become a part of the program, that at the end of 5 weeks, you will be a different person. You will be a happier person. You will be mentally stronger. You will be mentally stronger, more astute, more responsive, less less directed by feelings. Yeah, one of the things I do know of a surety, we cannot control at all the circumstances that come into our lives. We can't control what happens. Different things happen. The only thing, and I'm very judicious and careful about using the word only, or those definitive words, only, always, never, those type words. The only thing you can control is your response to the event. How do you respond to the event? We talk about that, responding. And not only responding, how do you let it go? How do you let it go? We know we've met people who have some mental health challenges. And when we talk to them, they talk about how some of them, I've been angry with so and so for so many years, so many months. I've been angry. Uh, um, Anger. There's something that we deal with, which is um, I call them deadly emotions. Emotions that we experience that are killing us. They're killing us. They're inviting disease into our bodies. Anger, resentment. That's a strong one. Resentment. Uh, uh, what else? What else is there? Anger, resentment? I'm looking at unforgiveness. Unforgiveness. And as part of closing, I'll share with you one of the things that I personally experienced. About a year ago, I lost everything that I had. Everything. My house, my wife had passed, but she still passed. My wife passed, uh, children, lost everything, everything. And I found myself laying down at night, and I couldn't get it out of my mind how somebody had done me wrong, how somebody had done me a dirty turn. Oh, that wasn't right. That wasn't right. And I could not release it. I could find no peace. So what I did, I at that time, because I had a problem. I had a problem. Blood pressure off the chart. Taking medication wasn't doing any good. Couldn't find any peace. Full of revenge and anger. I was going to get them back. I was going to go through court and this and that. And my choice was to pray. I ask you how you solve problems. For me, I chose to pray. Simple prayer. I said, God, if you don't take these thoughts away from me, I'm going to do something that we both will regret. Because, and I'm not digressing, when we react in anger, in unforgiveness, and revenge, when we react, when we spend our time there, you don't know what you will do. You just don't. A friend of mine shared that with me. You don't know what you do. The prison is full of people that ask the simple question, how did that happen? How did I do that? What made me do that? So I made that simple prayer, and God gave to me this program. Learn to think different. Think different. So I prayed and I said, make it so that I don't even think about it. I don't even think about the people that did me wrong or the wrong that I did to them or my wanting to get back at them. Here I am speaking to you now, and I sleep well. Well, for the most part, I sleep well at night. I have no ill thoughts toward them. I have no ill thoughts about what I lost. Is it still painful? Absolutely. It still hurts. It's still painful. But I mean them no ill. So I'm saying to you, we do experience and live with deadly emotions, unforgiveness, anger, repressed anger, resentfulness. And then if we're not spending time there, we're spending a whole lot of time in future thoughts, which brings anxiety. I don't deserve this and I don't deserve that and I'm not equipped for this and I'm not equipped for that. Too much. Too much. So again, I invite you to, you have my email there. You can email me with any questions. You can uh, call me and we can talk. Go to my Facebook, go to the Facebook page, One Mind, One Heart, and I'm building the page, so give me a little bit of time, and the program will be out there. You will be able to go and enroll in the program. Um, in summation, for today, we are talking about we talked about mental wellness, how to live, how to learn to live in a constant state of happiness. Now, when I say happiness, that please don't get that word twisted up. I'm not talking about la la la, ooh, everything tiptoe through the truth. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about being mentally sound, having your feet on solid ground, not being swayed by negative or positive events. Sometimes we talk about negative events or bad things, and we get down about that. What about when positive things happen? We sometimes we get so elated, we just know earthly good, just so happy, false sense of security. So we talked this morning again about mental wellness, walking away from those things that we are so controlled by our environment. That you must control your environment. When I say control your environment, I mean control the people that you permit in and what they say. And so many people you have the ability to do some of this. So that's what we talked about. Mental wellness. Mental wellness. You can be happy, not euphorically happy, but you can be on solid ground. You can have control of your environment. You can take control of your environment and your responses. Um, I have to go back to my notes. Forgive me, please. I'm here. Yeah, forgive me. Last on my part. Um, you can not only be happy on a regular daily basis, you can so control, make your decisions, make solid decisions based on your controlling outcomes and your listen. When we talk about mental wellness and happiness, making decisions based on positive expected outcomes, taking control, uh, being solid, having good, solid relationships. If you examine your relationships, what's your relationships like? What are they like? Do they do your relationships help you be a better you? Or are you helping them be a better them? Every person you come in contact with, there should be a difference because you've been with them. Now you can take you can go either way. There, I heard the expression one time that everybody, you, me, everybody on this planet will bring joy to a room. Everybody, think about that. You have the ability to bring such happiness to a room. Just you're full of joy. You either bring joy when you come in or when you leave. Which will it be for you? Thank you for your time. Mental wellness. Please go to the page, One Mind, One Heart, my Facebook page. And we'll and let's I'm looking for 100 people, 100 people, 50 to 100 people that want to go on this journey. That the outcome is guaranteed. You're guaranteed to be in a better place at the end of this 5-week program. Guaranteed. Thank you for your time. I'll see you next week. And next week we will. Oh, last thing. I apologize. There's two things I said that makes the difference if you will be successful or not. One is to be focused on what you're doing, and the second is to answer the question: are you willing to change? Are you willing to change? Since you know you're going to be a better person, are you willing to change? Or do you just depend on ancillary outside things to bring change? Thank you. Have a great day, guys. Have a great day. Look forward to us talking. See you next week.
Coaching with your host, DWendell. Join him next week, right here on What Up Baltimore Online Radio.